where he belongs to.
A direwolf has no place in the south. Will you take him with you? He'll be happier up there.
So would you.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones Season 8 video. In this video, I will be talking about what one of the Game of Thrones actors had to say about their character's ending. As you all know, I like to keep everyone up to date with any and all Game of Thrones related news. We haven't heard this actor say much ever since the show ended, so I thought some of you would like to know what he had to say. So, let's go ahead and get right into it. The first thing I want to do is read one of the articles that was written on the actor's thoughts. This gave a good description of Jon Snow's journey throughout the show, which ultimately led him back to the far north beyond the wall. This is what the article and the actor had to say. Express.com said, Game of Thrones came to a dramatic end last year, but now, former star Kit Harington has dropped a bombshell to fans regarding the final season of the show. The HBO drama ran for 8 seasons before it came to a climactic end last summer, which saw Kit's character, Jon Snow, murder his lover Daenerys Targaryen in a gruesome twist. The ending was a bitter pill to swallow for many fans who felt it had been rushed, and Kit recently admitted he has never got around to watching his final scenes on screen. Jon Snow was one of the central characters to the show throughout, and after he was supposedly killed off in Season 5, some fans thought they'd seen the last of him. However, it wasn't long before he made an unexpected reappearance after he was brought back to life by Melisandre in the following season. Further on into the saga, Jon sealed his romance with Daenerys, whilst the pair remained unaware they were related. He threw a further curveball after revealing his true identity to Daenerys, and made her vow to keep it a secret as they continued their quest to claim the Iron Throne. His true name was exposed as Aegon Targaryen, which made him the heir to the Seven Kingdoms, threatening Daenerys' future on the throne. He insisted he had no interest in trying to take away from her potential rule, but she was unable to cope with the revelation. She later went on a killing spree, murdering thousands of innocent citizens in King's Landing as she overthrew Cersei Lannister, which led to Jon feeling he had no choice but to assassinate her. Jon Snow was banished after to the north by Bran Stark, who was declared the King of the Six Kingdoms. The ending of the long-running show received criticism from fans after they felt there were multiple plot holes still left open, leaving them with plenty of questions. However, Kit is yet to give the finale a watch. As said in a recent Q&A with Purple Dragon, the star stunned fans by revealing, "I haven't seen it." He added, "When people say to me, 'I wish you'd been on the throne,' or 'I wish you'd been with Dany on the throne,' I disagree, because Jon's place was always in the north. He's never been happy in the south. He's like Ned Stark. When Ned goes to the south, he's in danger."
When people say to me, "Oh, I wish you'd been on the throne," or "I wish you'd been with Dany on the throne," or I disagree, because Jon's place was always in the north. He'd never have been happy in the south. He's like Ned Stark. Like, Ned goes south, he's in danger. Jon is always happiest. Like, it's when Tormund says to him, "You're of the north. It's right. He belongs north of the wall." And actually, I haven't seen it, so I don't know if I managed to pull it off. But what I tried to do with the ending was show some, he's been saddled with this weight all the way through the series. And he's this heavy character. He's literally got a cloak on and he's heavy. And what I wanted that last bit is that there's to be a sort of lightness about him, that it's all falling off, that this terrible thing he's been through, it's falling off as he goes north. I could go on about this for hours.
Jon belongs north of the wall. Alright, now let's break it down. Let's talk about what he said first, which is him saying he has yet to watch the final episode. I'm sure some of you might be wondering why that is. Well, to be honest, there are always a number of different reasons why some actors may never watch their own work. However, we may already know why Kit Harington decided not to revisit Westeros after the show ended. It might still be too emotional for him. If you remember, Right after HBO released their documentary on the making of the final season, Harington actually checked himself into a wellness facility for some much-needed therapy. There were many articles written on this at the time as well. A friend of the actor added that the end of the decade-long show really hit Kit hard, and his wife, fellow Game of Thrones actress Rose Leslie, was being extremely supportive. The Thrones documentary The Last Watch was also released Sunday that showed Harington crying in dismay when he first learned that his character Jon Snow would kill the show's female lead, Daenerys Targaryen. The actor also told Esquire in April that he broke down after shooting his final scenes as the character. The final day of shooting, I felt fine. I felt fine. I felt fine. Then I went to do my last shots and started hyperventilating a bit. Then they called wrap, and I just broke down. It was this onslaught of relief and grief about not being able to do this again. Now, this is just a guess, but I think this might have something to do with the fact that he has yet to watch the final episode. It's too emotional for him, and I would completely understand if that were the case. The show had been a part of his life for nearly a decade, and not only that, but this was also the show that made his career and completely changed his life for better or worse. He had also become very close with so many of the actors on the show. In fact, he even married Rose Leslie, someone he shared scenes with for multiple seasons, so you can see how Game of Thrones had a major impact on his life. I had a feeling that even I would get emotional while watching the last episode, so I can only imagine what he had to be going through during those final days on set. It had to be a roller coaster of emotions for everyone involved. You would be very happy for accomplishing something of that magnitude, but also sad because it's finally coming to an end, and you might even worry if you'll ever be a part of something that successful again. So, like I said, I totally understand why he might not want to watch the series finale just yet. It might take some more time before he's ready to watch himself as that character again. I also want to mention I am happy Kit Harington is no longer in therapy. It was very unfortunate to hear about some of the issues he was having, but I was also glad that he did the right thing by seeking out professional help. I hope he's in a happier place. Now I want to give my thoughts on what he said about Jon Snow's ending. He essentially said he agreed with where Jon Snow ended up. He felt that the character belonged in the North, and I have to say, I do agree with him and the writer's choice. For those of you who followed my videos for years, you would know I always said Jon Snow will never become king. It was so obvious that it was something he never wanted. Now, although I do wish Jon Snow was the one to kill the Night King, I was still happy to see him go back into the far north at the end. From the very first episode of the show, this is where Jon Snow was meant to spend the rest of his life, even though he was betrayed by certain members of the Night's Watch. Not only that, but Jon was never going to fit anywhere else. Just like his direwolf ghost, Jon was the outcast of the bunch, and once he met Ygritte, Mance Rayder, and even Tormund, you could see how much of an impact and influence they had on him. Even some of the decisions Jon made later on in the series were directly connected to some of the decisions Mance Rayder either made or would have made. After spending so much time with the Free Folk, Jon would never be the same again, so I understood why the character would want to go back beyond the wall. I believe I even said in my review of the final episode, when we see Jon go beyond the wall for the last time, he watches as the door closes behind him, and I think it was a good representation of Jon entering a new chapter in his life. He was leaving behind Westeros and all the chaos that came with it. For Jon, life is much simpler in the North, and just like with the actor who portrayed him, I hope he can find happiness moving forward.
I wish I was going with you. This is farewell then. You never know.
But, as always, these are just my opinions. Feel free to let me know what you think down below. Why do you think he still hasn't watched the final episode? And what did you think of Jon Snow's ending? Do you still think and feel the same way you did a year ago when the finale first aired? I would like to see what all of you have to say about it. Anyways, thanks for stopping by to watch the video. I appreciate that as always. And I also want to thank you for supporting the channel. I hope you all have a great day. I will see you again soon. Bye.